Hi, host Eric here, talking with famous people. Gord Thor, you've got me on take 3 of this video. That's impressive work there, my friend. You're all over the place, frankly. You got a mishmash of contradictory nonsense in here that is non-responsive to anything I said. You got multiple problems, the first of which is I don't give you the neg. You're not negating here. You're not answering any claims I made. You're answering. You're negating something you can't define. You're negating something that you expressly say is not defined. So the problem, the fundamental problem you have, Gord Thor, is a failure to differentiate between the material and immaterial world. A failure to differentiate between the physical and the metaphysical. They operate according to different rules. You touch on that, and you don't seem to recognize the fact that it contradicts the other shit you say. Right? You touch on the fact you mentioned emergence, and you don't seem to understand that the position you're arguing is fundamentally one that is entrenched in causality as a framework. Okay? You can't both point out examples of things that defy causality as a mechanism and then concurrently dismiss uh, immaterial claims about the immaterial world as merely subjective, speculative gobbledygook, right? As though the immaterial world were subject to no laws whatsoever, simply because it's subject to different laws than the physical world. Talk about being locked into your frame of reference. You are unable to bounce between multiple frames of reference deftly as a good thinker ought to be able to. Now, a truly accomplished thinker is going to be able to utilize mechanisms of faith and understand the world through those mechanisms at on demand, so to speak, more or less. It's what I call the church flexible faith. You should watch some of those old videos. You might want to go into that stuff and see what I'm talking about. But anyway, regardless, you're quite derisive about the God thingy concept, as you call it. You say, Eric, God hasn't been observed, yet people still believe in such a concept based on 100% speculation because there is zero reference to which the observable universe for the attribute of God thing. Okay, first of all, you're talking about God as though it were a physical object and trying to keep it subject to those laws, and yet faith is, I'm much more interested in the process of faith as a behavior, right? And how it manifests reality within individuals. So right away, I mean, you're answering shit I never even said. You didn't even. I didn't really make any claims about what I believe in this at all. A couple little things maybe. I stated some potential arguments that might be made in the in the analysis of this issue. You say, how can anyone know what they're referring to when their idea is 100% speculation? I don't know what this idea is you're referring to because you don't know what you're referring to. You don't know what you're defining. And remember, you're opposing something here, but you're not opposing anything I said. So that means you're affirming non-existence. You have the burden. And you're not even defining your terms. Yeah. All beings we know of exist inside space and time, and they are material. Well, I got plenty of examples of ones that aren't. Any kind of time object, any kind of YouTube video, any kind of song that exists conceptually outside of any manifestation of it. So I know the melody of the song, Daft Punk's "Get Lucky" in my head, whether or not I'm listening to it. Its existence persists. There is a non-material world, of course. I mean, it's insane to imagine that you think everything that you think you're currently experiencing through your senses. Is that what you think? You're not experiencing these words that you're spitting out here by experiencing them through your senses. They're obviously concepts that exist outside of yourself because I'm interacting with them right now, and yet they are parts of yourself, little clones of your own agency. Your own agency rendered static, temporarily at least, pending the ongoing application of energy to the sustenance of this system. Then you've rendered static the fluid truths within you by writing them into words. Okay, you've created a metaphysical entity. Um, This is what happens when you have too much time spent reading different shit and too little time actually being challenged on your ideas. Because you get a sloppy mess like this. So he says, prolific emergent phenomenon found throughout the universe. The sum is often greater than the parts. Life emerged, so there is no first life. At any point claimed to be first life would be purely arbitrarily. There is no such thing as first human. Nobody made any claims about that. I made no claims about that whatsoever. Who are you arguing against? And the point about emergence is a point in defense of metaphysical phenomena. You're saying it breaks down causality. Think. The God thinking concept is nowhere near the same as philosophy. I didn't say it was the same. I said that it had equal legitimacy. And that's not the same as, are they the same? Is there actually any greater legitimacy for philosophical analysis over theological meditations? The answer you're giving me here is suggesting that theological meditations are vastly superior. Yeah, I understand that unicorns are more coherent because they're more defined than the thing that you're not defining but are nevertheless opposing, which is not my definition of God and not my definition of theist, right? You say most people believe that absolute nothingness was the default state before matter, even though they live in a universe full of something and not a single example of nothingness. I never made that claim. 100% speculation has no room for debate simply because no one has a clue what the fuck they're talking about. I agree, but the problem here is you're accusing me of engaging in 100% speculation, but you haven't answered any of the points I made. You keep answering points I didn't make, and you're using reasons why my points that I didn't make are wrong that themselves contradict each other. Your reasons contradict each other. You're talking about incoherent, undefined things that are real when you're talking about emergent phenomena. I mean, did you think a little bit past fucking the first argument that came to mind or what? These things have to be coherent as a whole. Your argument chain here has to work together with itself. It can't, and it's supposed to be responding to me. The only thing we can know about the God concept is that its root stems from the human psyche and not even all humans is that. Okay, well, I didn't say it didn't. Okay, again, you're assuming things I never said, and I mean, I'm not agreeing with your point here. I'm saying you're not answering anything I said. You do say this: the INTJ girl Courtney is owning you with her logic. There is no reason to assume that all quantum observations carry over to the world at large. Okay, can you answer my actual point? The one that Courtney didn't answer, or are you just going to say, feel bad for your intellectual failures, Eric, because you got pwned in that debate? I don't think I did, but regardless, can you answer the point I made? I'm not going to tell you what it is. You either have to rewatch the fucking video and actually see what the points I actually made are, or just concede that you're being ridiculous.